What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. Today, we start off by congratulating both the Miami Heat and the Los Angeles Lakers for having punched their tickets to face off in the NBA Finals. We debate who will come out on top and who you will be your Finals MVP. Then we hop over to the UFC where we break down the title fights on the UFC 253 main card and discuss what each champion has to look forward to next. Finally, we go over all the important news and notes from week 3 of the NFL season. All that and much more coming your way right now. Nick, how's it going? What a week it's been, and it is only, I guess, Wednesday for people that are listening to this, but Tuesday as of recording.
Yeah, I mean, we just had a jam-packed weekend full of sports. Started off with the UFC. Lakers won on Saturday. Heat won on Sunday. We had all that football on Sunday and a major game yesterday that was fun to watch, but it opened my eyes to the Chiefs' offense even more.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of great sports. A lot of things happened over the weekend. I think we just need to jump right in. So, the first and foremost, like I said in our opening, congratulations to the Miami Heat and the Los Angeles Lakers for moving on to the NBA Finals. You guys, those teams definitely deserved their wins. They put the time in, and overall, we're better than the Celtics and Nuggets respectively. Let's start off with the Heat versus the Celtics. Heat defeat the Celtics in Game 6 to move on to the finals. What'd you see from the Celtics that you liked and you didn't like?
Yeah, coming to the series, I thought they were just drained. It seems like they were able to hold on for the majority of the game, but then they just got gassed in the fourth quarter, and that's when they started to fall apart, and the Heat really started to take over, and they really had troubles defending guys like Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson and Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. And these are all the stars that have come to shine for the Heat throughout the playoffs, in the bubble. It's just been a real team effort by the Heat and something that no one has really had an answer to thus far.
Yeah, for sure. I think what the Heat played an incredible brand of basketball. Some would say it's on par with exactly what Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra want to put out there on the court. But overall, I can't take away from the Heat. What I can say though is that I think the Celtics were absolutely gassed after that Toronto Raptors series. That they were just, that they had little to nothing left in the tank. Obviously, without Gordon Hayward, people were playing extended minutes, and that was a series where you had multiple overtimes in multiple games, and it came down to the wire. And the Celtics, when they had to face a more physically dominating team like the Heat, it was all but over right from the get-go. I tried to be optimistic. As a Celtics fan, I truly do believe that the Celtics have the talent to be able to take on the Heat and win the 7-game series. When everything is, level, the playing fields are matched and everything like that. But like I said, I don't want to take away any credit from the Miami Heat. They absolutely steamrolled their way through the Eastern Conference on their way to represent the East in the NBA Finals. On the other side of the coin, we have the Lakers steamrolling their way through the Western Conference Finals, up to the Western Conference Finals, then beating the Nuggets in 5 games. And you know how I love my boy, 40 ball Jamal, right? What did you see from the Lakers that has you hyped for the NBA Finals?
The amount of superstars they have on this team. And I think it goes well beyond Anthony Davis and LeBron James, because guys like Kyle Kuzma and Alex Caruso and Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard, these are guys that have really stepped up in the playoffs, and they have really, really shined for them. And Anthony Davis and LeBron James have either been trading off nights where one has 40 points and then the other has 40 points another night, or they just have a night where they both have 40 points, It's just something that is impossible for anybody to stop. They've won every single playoff series so far, 4-1. And I just think that this is a nightmare matchup for the Heat, for everybody that they face. It's just something nobody has an answer to, and I don't think that the Heat will either.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. The Denver Nuggets, I believe that they're just a little too young, and just they don't have the requisite star power to collectively hang in there with the Lakers. Obviously, they came back from 3-1 against both the Utah Jazz and the Los Angeles Clippers. And some would say the Denver Nuggets are the ones that forced Doc Rivers out of his job in Los Angeles. But overall, I believe that the Nuggets have a lot to learn from. They have a lot to gather. They are on the right track. 40 ball Jamal, Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr. They have what it takes to not only get better, but these guys are absolute studs. They are superstars in the making. I will gladly be ready to see them, shine through, especially toward the end of LeBron's reign in the NBA, at the end of his career. I believe that this Denver Nuggets team has what it takes to really push the envelope and could represent the West in the NBA Finals for years to come. With that being said, like I said, the stage is set, right? The Lakers and the Heat, that is our finals matchup. That is what we get in this forever crazy 2020 or 2019-2020 NBA season. Um, First, tell me who you got, why, and then who's your NBA Finals MVP will be.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I don't think there's an answer to the Lakers, so I have the Lakers winning this. They've won every series 4-1, and I don't see it changing now. Lakers will win in Game 5, 4-1 series. Anthony Davis is going to be unstoppable. I don't think Bam Adebayo is going to be able to handle him. I think he's going to be caught between a rock and a hard place with AD and Dwight Howard not knowing who to cover. They're going to be, you know, playing weird style, a crazy style that no one has really had an answer to. Obviously, Jokic hasn't been known for his defensive style, and Bam is obviously better, but I still think that he's going to struggle with these two, and Anthony Davis is going to still be as towering of an offensive player as he's been, and he's going to take advantage of Bam Adebayo and be the star for the Lakers in the series. So Lakers win, Anthony Davis Finals MVP.
Um, Interesting. That's an interesting take. And it seems like you're right on par with what Vegas has. Vegas has the Lakers in they have it as 5.5 games, I believe. Bless you, by the way. Five and a
Thank
half
you.
games. So you're right there on the under. My prediction, wholeheartedly, I believe the Miami Heat will win this series in 7 games. I believe that when you have a team that is managed by Pat Riley, coached by Eric Spoelstra, both who have done it before, they've been there, they understand what it takes. Jimmy Butler and these boys are not afraid of a damn thing. They are not afraid of LeBron James. They're not afraid of Anthony Davis. They are not afraid of the Lakers in the finals. Um, when you talk about the guys that they have on this team, Goran Dragic, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Jay Crowder, so Bam Adebayo, so on and so forth. These guys have constantly been passed over in their careers. We're talking about Duncan Robinson, who was looking for a sports media job coming out of college because he didn't think he had a shot in the NBA, or that anybody would give him that shot. Or Tyler Hero, who went on record today as saying that he remembers all 12 names that were selected before him in the NBA draft. Goran Dragic, who has been a point guard on multiple teams and not taken seriously. These guys, Jimmy Butler has his own story that we all know well in Chicago, then to Minnesota, then to Philadelphia, finally finding a home in Miami where he's been able to do his thing. Uh, these guys they've been through it all. And when you talk about the teams that they had to go through in the East, you're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, beat them in 5. You're talking about the Boston Celtics, beat them in 6. These are two of the top defensive teams in the NBA, let alone the Eastern Conference, right? So when you're talking about the players that they had to go through, the schemes, and the work that they've had to put in, they have been able to go against length, they've been able to go against strength, they've been able to go against quickness, and it seems like there's no answer for what they can put out there. They are able to adapt and do whatever they need to do to win these games.
Yeah,
So I just want to finish my NBA Finals MVP. I believe will be Duncan Robinson. Do not sleep on Duncan Robinson. This man is definitely learning more than just a 3-point shot. He can drive to the basket and get his own now.
I'm really interested you wouldn't go with Tyler Hero in that situation, the guy who was the star of this series against the Celtics.
Tyler Hero coming off the bench is a little different. Duncan Robinson is the starter. They share the same spotlight, but I believe Duncan Robinson is more of a um, he's going to benefit more from Jimmy Butler's ability to drive into the hole, Goran Dragic's ability to create his own shot, and then Bam Adebayo being the pick and roll master that he is.
It's going to be really interesting to see how the young guys on the Heat are able to handle the veterans on the Lakers. It's kind of old school versus new school.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And you talk about the Lakers, Rajon Rondo's been there and done it before. LeBron James has been there and done it before. Dwight Howard's been to the finals with the Orlando Magic. Anthony Davis, this is his first real ride in, right? Kyle Kuzma the same way. So I'll be interested to see how all of that goes. JaVale McGee obviously won with the Golden State Warriors, but as far as I'm concerned, this is going to be one hell of a matchup. I'm really excited. Hopefully they give us a good series nonetheless. I'm really excited. And we all know what this is all about. This season, this finals, this is for Kobe. What we're all thinking about Kobe, especially with the Lakers being in the finals. It makes all too much sense right now. So, but that wasn't the only thing that happened, right? We have to move on to the UFC. The UFC had an incredible card this weekend. Nick, I'm going to let you break it down a little bit for everybody.
Yeah, so the co-main event started off with Yam Blhovets, and I'm probably saying that wrong, but we're just gonna roll with it, all right? Yam Blhovets versus Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes had that great fight with John Jones in February where he should have won, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions, but the judges saw it another way. And this was the time for him to shine, his time to get the light heavyweight championship that he should have gotten in February. And all he had to do was beat Yam Blhovets, a guy who has been a journeyman, who has made some corrections in his game and has been on a 4-game win streak. And then everybody was didn't even give Yam Blhovets a real look until as soon as that bell rang, as soon as the match, the fight started, and Jan absolutely dominated Dominic Reyes, kicking him in the ribs. Those leg kicks were absolutely brutal, cutting him up, leaving in absolutely crazy imprints that are probably still there and gonna be there for a while. And then in the second round, hitting him with some nasty combinations to the head that dazed him, knocked him down, and that's when Jan took over and closed out this fight. It was all lopsided. It was one-sided for Jan, and he proved that he shall not be overlooked anymore, and that he is the new light heavyweight champion in the UFC.
100%. I believe that Dominic Reyes is one of those guys where he holds so much name value, and obviously for good reason. He was the number one contender to John Jones before the title was vacated. So it's interesting to me with Yam Blhovets what he is able to do at his size, because you look at him and you'd say there's no way he's a light heavyweight. Just the sheer mass that he looks like he has, the broadness of his shoulders, the size of his arms and his ability to move at the same speed as somebody like Dominic Reyes. It just doesn't compute that something like this could absolutely happen, but it does. And I believe Dominic Reyes came in there with the wrong approach. His idea was to try to tire him out. He was going to try to play the long game and try to get him in rounds 4 and 5. That you know that's a good game plan until it backfires, right?
Until you get hit in the mouth.
Right, until Yam Blhovets says, "I'm not waiting, I'm attacking," and that your game plan is all well and good until you have to start responding to somebody else's game plan. And I think Yam Blhovets proved that he is a not only the top of that weight class, but is somebody that should be feared and somebody that needs to be taken seriously by the entire UFC, by his division, and by the people that are watching the UFC as well.
Yeah, and then we had the main event, which this has been hyped up for over a year now. This is something that ever since Adesanya won the belt from Whitaker, that he called out Costa. They finally got a deal done, and this fight was finally going to take place at Fight Island. And this was two undefeated titans clashing together. It was going to be spectacular. We finally got to the point, and it was all one-sided, like the co-main event. Adesanya absolutely obliterated Costa, just got his number, played his game. He lured him in, he baited him in, caught him with a nice left hook that made him look like a human. He didn't look like the Brazilian Hulk that has terrorized the middleweight division.
No, he looked more like a bloated Ricky Martin.
Oh boy. He sure did. And once he was dazed, that's when Adesanya pounced, hit him with some nice combinations, knocked him down, and then closed it out. And it was all over from there. Absolutely amazing finish by Adesanya. I know Jared Cannonier is probably going to be the next guy for Adesanya, but I don't even think Cannonier's going to be anywhere near Costa. And I don't even think that there's anybody else in this division that can compete with Adesanya. Adesanya is going to be the champion of this division for an extremely long time.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with Cannonier and Whitaker in UFC 254. Because I believe the winner of that fight will challenge Adesanya sometime next year for the title. Either way, I don't see how they would possibly match up well with him. We've seen what Adesanya can do to Whitaker, and it seemed like Adesanya was ready to call out Cannonier. He said, "I want you to not only do you need to win, but you need to dominate in a win to be able to contend for this title." And if he doesn't, it's going to be very tough for him to go against the style bender himself, right? So it'll be interesting. I'm very excited. I do want to make a note though, for the people all over social media that are going crazy about how he acted after his win. I have one thing to say to you. Shut the fuck up. Nobody cares that he hurt your feelings, okay? The fact remains is that this man, everything that they went through leading up to this fight, all the trash talk, all the media back and forth, and then leading up to the altercation that they had at the weigh-ins. You know what? This was well deserved. He has every right to do what he did. And it's not like he didn't shake the man's hand. It's not like he didn't go up to him and tell him he was a good fighter afterward. He just, he was in the moment. And I was actually kind of happy to see that somebody, like Adesanya isn't willing to bow down to what people want, rather continue to be himself.
Well said.
All right, so UFC 253 in the books. Let's look forward to UFC 254. Nick will talk more about that as we get closer. We'll break down the card and go on from there. As we always do, the NFL is now in week 3, and there were quite a few storylines that we had to catch before we move on from the NFL. The first of which would be that for the second time in as many weeks, the Atlanta Falcons have given up a lead of more than 20 points. Do you, Nicholas, believe that this is the end for Dan Quinn as head coach of the Atlanta Falcons?
Yes, and I don't know why he's still the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Why did they not fire him right after that game? If you lose massive leads in back-to-back games, how are you still the coach? A guy who has a losing
True.
record since losing the Super Bowl.
True.
It just does not make sense. Dan Quinn has lost whatever magic he had. He clearly can't lead a team to victory. I just don't know what you need to do. It's just the mismanagement of this team has been absolutely amazing in the worst way. And it's time for Dan Quinn to go because as soon as he goes, this team is going to start winning.
Yeah, I mean that the writing has been on the wall for a little while now. I would even say, toward the beginning of last season, you blame injuries, you can blame lack of personnel, you can blame whatever you want. The fact remains that as soon as Kyle Shanahan walked out the door, so did their title hopes, and so did the heart of the team. It seems like this offense took years to try to figure something out, and now this is the year that they finally kind of figured out how to get that offense going again. Even though they're still mismanaging how they use Todd Gurley in their running back situation, uh, but now the defense isn't up to snuff. And what is Dan Quinn known for? He's supposed to be a defensive guru. That's why they hired him away from Seattle. And at this point, it just doesn't seem to make a whole hell of a lot of sense why Dan Quinn is still employed. I know you've talked about Jay Gruden and how he said if his key access card didn't work on Monday, he knew he was fired. I'm not sure why the Falcons haven't shut off access to Dan Quinn's card. That's for damn sure.
It's a great question. It really is.
But I want to share the same sentiment across the board
Yeah.
because if we're gonna talk poorly about one coach, we have to do it about another. And the Eagles and the Bengals proved yet again that they are two of the worst teams in the league after ending in a tie. And it's not just that they ended in a tie; it's how it happened. Um, First, before we go on, which team do you think is worse at the current state of the NFL?
Most
The
definitely,
Bengals?
most definitely the Eagles, without a doubt.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is a team that, with all their injury problems, and Carson Wentz playing like a dumpster fire, this is obviously going to happen when nothing is going right for you.
Yeah, again, like I talked about with Kyle Shanahan and the Falcons, nothing has gone right for the Eagles ever since Frank Reich has left. Frank Reich was the epitome of what these Eagles did on offense, and then ever since then, Carson Wentz can't complete a pass. He struggles turning over the ball. He almost looks like a bigger dumpster fire than Mitchell Trubisky. Now, I'm not ready to go there just yet because we know where Mitch is, but the fact remains that Carson Wentz does not look like the guy that they drafted. He does not look like the guy that he was before their Super Bowl run, and it almost looks like Doug Peterson is holding them back as far as their ability to take risks. It seems like he tries to play it too safe now. We're talking about the same guy that called Philly special or Philly, and then also went for it on 4th and 3 on their own 40-yard line in the Super Bowl. Um, I don't think that guy is there anymore. And it begs the question, do you believe this is the end for Doug Peterson in Philadelphia?
No, I really don't. And I think I alluded to it before. It's not Doug Peterson, it's not the system, it's the injuries that they've had. It's the lack of personnel that they have to use. They have less personnel than the Washington football team. Like they just don't have anybody. They've lost multiple offensive linemen. They've lost safeties in the offseason. They've lost linebackers, and the only thing that really stays consistent is this defensive line, which it has been performing really well. They're
My biggest question is how long can we go on with the sentiment that there's injuries, or last year that it was receivers that can't catch the ball because they led the league in drops. I mean, again, all these excuses start to mount up, and then you get into a situation like Dan Quinn with the Falcons. I mean, at what point can we draw the line and say this is enough. Doug Peterson, he may not be the problem, but he's definitely not helping aid for a solution. And at that point, I believe that there needs to be a change at the top because you need to strike some fear into these players into playing better, getting better physically, getting ready for the season. I mean, obviously season ending injuries happen to everybody, even the most athletic, look at Saquon Barkley. But it just seems like, Philadelphia just that they ever since that Super Bowl, they have just floundered. And I don't know what it is, but it just seems like that they are still focused on that win and haven't moved on.
I mean, it's kind of like the curse of Bill Belichick. The Falcons aren't winning, the Eagles aren't winning. The only one that are winning are the Rams. They've been in a lot of close games. So I think that you have to give Doug Peterson another year. I think you need to let the players who are injured this year get healthy. I think you need to use the draft to get Carson Wentz some weapons or build that defense back up to what it was. Use the offseason to sign some free agents that can help get your team to the playoffs. I think give them one more year, and if not then, you either have to move on from Carson Wentz or you need to move on from Doug Peterson. And they might even just want to move on from Carson Wentz after this year if they can go get Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence.
So, I mean, when you talk about rebuilding their defense, they still have one of the better defensive lines in the league. Derek
Yeah.
Barnett, Fletcher Cox, and Brandon Graham. Those three are absolute monsters on the field. And they got Darius Slay from the Lions, and
hmm
they have the requisite talent, I believe, to compete. But an 0-2-1 record and the way they tied against the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, of all teams, you're talking about the Bengals. I understand that this division is up for grabs, and nobody has really taken a hold of what could be the weakest division in football. What is the weakest division in football? Um, but it doesn't excuse an 0-2-1 start. It really does not. Um, I just want to, before we move on from this one, I saw earlier that Max Kellerman talked about a trade possibility of Carson Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts, so he would be reunited with Frank Reich. I think that's absolutely bullshit. Uh, don't ever listen to Max Kellerman. But first, there's no reason that anybody wants to take Carson Wentz on his current contract that they signed him to, and the Eagles won't get anything out of it worthwhile. And then on top of that, you're going to have to expect that you're going to do worse than the Jets or whoever else is going to be trying to tank for a quarterback for next year. So I just don't see the viability of that idea.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It doesn't make any sense. Philip Rivers, as bad as he is, has still gotten them some wins. And if he can't do it, Jacoby Brissett's still there, who's been there for a couple of years now, and proved last year that he can get this team wins as well. So I don't think Carson Wentz is going to do any better than Philip Rivers or Jacoby Brissett.
No, not at all. Um, you know who will do better than both of those guys though?
Who?
That would be Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, sir.
The Kansas City Chiefs continue to dominate the NFL, and I mean dominate. They made the Ravens defense look almost like the Jets defense. Uh, do you believe that there is a team that can stop, limit, sneeze on the Kansas City Chiefs offense?
No, not even close. I thought it was the Steelers until the Texans offense, what it is, took away just completely obliterated that secondary. I thought that they might give them a run for their money, but no, I don't think there is. It's going to be tough for any team in the NFL to limit them to less than 21 points a game. And then this defense is playing a lot better than I ever expected them to play. So whatever points the offense does put up, or the amount of points, try ever matching that because it's going to be impossible. So it doesn't matter if you can limit them to X amount of points on offense. That defense is going to limit your offense to a certain amount of points.
Yeah, it's going to be very tough. The Chiefs are in a very good spot right now with the way they're playing. But I'll give you a couple teams that I think could pose issues for them. One, two of which are in their division. The I almost did it. The
Wow.
Las Vegas Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers. I believe those defenses have the requisite pieces to not only get pressure on the quarterback, but can also do pretty well in coverage. I think the Raiders specifically match up well with speed. I think that's what John Gruden and Mike Mayock have done out in Las Vegas. They've been able to gain pieces that are going to match their division rivals with the speed aspect of things. Where on the other side, I think that Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, Chris Harris Jr., those guys in Los Angeles, what's the defensive tackle's name? Linval Joseph.
Yep.
I think those guys are just going to use their power and absolutely bludgeon this offense. So I think they present different types of issues for the Chiefs, and it's going to be interesting how they respond. Do they respond poorly to the strength aspect or the speed aspect? Maybe both, maybe either one. I would also want to throw in the New England Patriots. Their defense doesn't seem to have missed too much of a step, except for Russell Wilson torching them, who is the clear cut MVP candidate right now. And then maybe even the Buffalo Bills. I would say the Buffalo Bills defense could do a very good job of limiting them because of the rotational depth that they have on the front seven, where they can constantly gain pressure, and then they can provide coverage on the back end with Tre'Davious White and Josh Norman and those boys.
I don't know if Russell Wilson's a clear-cut MVP. I think Patrick Mahomes may have something to say about that. But way too early in the season. I agree with you. There are some teams, especially in their division, that can give them a run for their money. As we saw in week 2, the Chargers only lost by, I think, a touchdown. And that was Herbert's first game as a starter on short notice. Right. So,
and when you say short notice, he found out right before kickoff.
Literally, right as soon as the game was kicking off, yeah. So, this Chiefs team, they're not invincible, but it's improbable for any team to beat them. I wouldn't bet against the Chiefs in any game.
Yeah, it'll be tough. I don't expect them to go 16-0. They will falter here and there because of the way their schedule is built. But overall, I believe that they should be the requisite favorites to repeat in the Super Bowl.
Definitely.
So there was some breaking news today, and it caused quite a stir. 3 Titans players and 5 personnel have tested positive for COVID-19. The team will not be allowed back into their facility until Saturday and will play the Steelers on Sunday. The NFL has stated they will keep games as scheduled, but could move the game to Monday if deemed necessary. It should also be noted that the Minnesota Vikings, who they played last week, has been told that they are not allowed to come together as a team or be in the facility for 48 hours. With that being said, should the NFL take action against teams that test positive for COVID-19?
For sure. They need to start implementing harsher punishments on players and teams for not following protocol. And I don't care if it's not specifically said in the rules, you need to do what is tasked of you as an NFL athlete, someone who's trying to play the game of football at a professional level during a pandemic. You need to do what you have to. And if that means not going anywhere besides home and work, then that's what you got to do. That's how you avoid situations like this. And if you're not going to do it, your team will forfeit the game.
So you're saying that the NFL should forfeit these teams?
Yeah, say the Titans.
Just want to make sure I have you correct.
Say the Titans can't go on Sunday. They will forfeit the game to the Steelers.
But here's the issue with your premise, right? What about the Vikings? Do they have to forfeit if they can't go, if they have anybody who tests positive? Because all they did was play the Tennessee Titans. They did their job.
No. You know what? they will have to forfeit, but it's because of what the Titans did. And this is how everybody is held accountable. You have
So you're holding the Vikings accountable for what a Tennessee Titans player did.
Yeah, and you know what?
No,
Yeah,
that makes it. That's it. That's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.
you know what? It's not you that's how you hold everybody accountable, because if I know I'm doing my job, I expect you to be doing your job. And your job
But if I don't do my job, how are you gonna get punished?
then you're making everybody suffer. Then why have the game of football during a pandemic if we can't follow a couple rules?
They're not rules. That's the thing. These players were allowed to play. They were tested before the game. They didn't test positive before the game, and
Right.
then all of a sudden,
And we have not, and we haven't heard of any Vikings player or personnel testing positive. So in that aspect, there shouldn't be any problems, because if they tested positive, then they would have been removed immediately and the game might have been postponed at that point.
But what if you're not doing anything wrong? What if you get it from the team hotel? What if you get it from food that got delivered to you? Are you supposed to just stop living your life because of your job? No, you are a human.
I'm not trying to get political, but I think a lot of the science is pointed to the fact that COVID isn't really living on anything you're grabbing or anything that if your hotel's clean. We've been in hotels during this pandemic and we know that they are cleaned very thoroughly. We know, and I'm sure it's to the nth degree with the NFL players. I'm sure that every protocol is being taken by these hotels, and the organizations are making sure of that as well. It's up to the players to make sure that they go from home to work and work to home and nowhere else, and make sure that everybody they are surrounded with outside of their football team is not going anywhere they don't have to be. You need to create your own bubble.
If their significant other is going to work or is going to do something that they need to do, how on earth, if they contract it and then give it to the player, how are you holding an entire team accountable for the significant other's actions? This is where your base does not make sense.
Listen,
There are too many factors that can lead to this one thing happening.
No.
Yes.
If your significant other is, say a nurse in a hospital, maybe you have to separate yourself and you have to live apart for the duration of the season. If you want to be in the NFL, you'll do what it takes to play in the NFL. If it doesn't matter, you will have to do what it takes.
There's no shot. There's absolutely no shot. The fact remains is that people are going to continue living their lives, and just because you are a passionate fan of the sport does not mean that we can hold everybody accountable as far as forfeiting a game if you test positive.
So why are not that? Then why are we playing this season? If we're not going to be holding players accountable, holding teams accountable, then what's the point?
Hold them accountable financially. You can fine them. You can do other things. You can suspend them. You can do things that can hurt them in other ways. But to hurt an entire team is just absolutely blasphemous at this point.
That's how you really hit them where it hurts, because everybody plays to win.
You're trying to get at, but that's not how it's going to work. There is no way you can take an entire team and say you lose this game because two players couldn't go. There's just no way.
If I'm a player in the NFL and I've been around my team for 2 months now with training camp and games, I am going to do what it takes to protect the brother next to me. All right? And I'm sure he is thinking the same thing for me. You're going to do what it takes.
I get that sentiment. But you're not always in control of contracting something like a virus. It can happen without even knowing or understanding where in fact it came from, right? So you're telling me that if somebody in some way contracts this virus, your team has to forfeit. I think that is absolutely bullshit. I think you need to come up with a different idea, because forfeiting a game, what are we going to have? Are we going to have, the Tennessee Titans who, had to forfeit 2 games? in the season that they win their division because percentage point wise, they've won more games than possibly the Houston Texans, who might have won more games.
Listen, I'm only saying forfeit the game if you cannot go on Sunday. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying if you test positive, one player tests positive, the entire team has to forfeit that week. No, I'm saying if you cannot go on Sunday, and look, right now the Tennessee Titans only have 3 players.
Sunday? How do you not go on Sunday then? If it's only 3 players, let them not go. They can't play.
That's fine, but I'm saying, say you test positive on Saturday, you're SOL, man. You know, you're screwing yourself.
But if one person tests positive on, say, Saturday, and everybody else is fine, get them the fuck out of there. I don't understand how you can still make a team forfeit the game.
Look, AJ Terrell tested
positive. They shouldn't be able to go on Sunday.
AJ Terrell tested positive for the Falcons on Sunday, and he didn't play. But no one else on the Falcons.
Falcons were fine. They didn't have to forfeit.
Right, because no one else tested positive, and they were fine, and nothing has occurred since then.
Right, you just proved my point for me.
But
you just proved my point, because there is no way, unless an entire team contracts it.
No, when you have 3 players and 5 personnel, that's more than one player. Then you have a serious problem.
But then those guys can't go. They can't be part of it. They have to go away in quarantine for 2 weeks or whatever it is. But the whole team can't be held accountable for those 8 people when it could have most likely only came from one, and then it spread. At that point, what are we doing here? What are we trying to get at? You're just trying to maliciously hurt the team.
No, it's drastic actions. I agree, but you have to have something that drastic in place for the players to wake up. No, the players need to wake up when they see this, that they may lose a game or forfeit a game because they are not being held accountable. If you need to be professional, this is your job. Take it seriously.
They do take it seriously.
Do they?
I would say 99.9% do. There's always going to be one person that doesn't. There's always one, right? There's always one that ruins it.
Then find them and get them off your team because they don't deserve to be in the NFL.
But that's what I'm saying. Suspend them. It could be 6 games. It could be whatever. But you cannot physically force a team to forfeit a game simply because certain players and personnel, you're talking about 8 people contracted a virus. Okay? There is no, if everybody else tests negative, that is more than enough for them to play the game of football on Sunday when we're talking about this on Tuesday.
And then what happens the next day when the other team tests positive and more players on that team test positive?
We haven't seen that happen. That has not snowballed yet.
Right. So let's not let it happen. Put some drastic protocols in place.
The drastic protocols they were sent home. They were sent home. Nobody's allowed it in the facility until Saturday. That's drastic. Everybody,
right? And what if today was Saturday? What if today was Saturday and we found this out?
It's not.
This could happen at any point. Right now, COVID's not going anywhere. There's no vaccines right now. So
answer me this. Answer me this. 3 players, 5 personnel. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. What is stopping the rest of the team from playing if they test negative?
Because you don't know if they have it.
They test negative. That's what's telling me they don't have it. They tested negative.
No. You need they're going to have to test negative multiple times. That's what's going to have to happen for the Vikings
negative on Saturday
and for the Titans
and Sunday.
Listen, especially when you have multiple people. It's not like it's an isolated incident. You don't know the root cause. You don't know where it's stemming from. And if you don't know, you might have a player who has a false negative and then gets everybody infected. You're going to need multiple days to figure that out. And in order to prevent them from getting everybody else...
A false negative could happen to any team that doesn't even have a positive test. So now you're literally just throwing darts and seeing what sticks.
No,
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I'm just not. I don't believe that this is a viable option for the NFL.
NFL players need to be held accountable and you got to hit them where it hurts, and that's with wins. You take that away from them, they are going to pay attention. They are going to do what is necessary.
No, if you hit them where it hurts, you suspend them for multiple games, and their team will get them straight. Because if you're on an NFL roster, you have a job to do.
I mean, they're already suspended anyway because of COVID.
Or player 53, right? But they're suspended with pay if you're out with COVID. Suspend them without pay, an actual suspension. That's where it hurts.
What I mean, I don't think
these players only get Don't forget, these players only get 17 checks a year. 17.
Right, with the minimum person making $500,000.
Right, so if that $500,000 person misses 6 games, you have almost cut their entire money in half. Almost in half.
How? I don't understand your logic.
You're suspending them.
Yeah, for how long are they suspending for? Half a season?
6 games. I said 6 games.
I don't know how you think that is reasonable. I mean,
but you're telling me an entire team needs.
How is yours any different from mine? You're saying mine is unreasonable. Well,
because it depends on how they contracted it. If there is an investigation, it says they went to a club or they went to a bar, they need to be suspended. But if there is no viable way to figure out how they did it, and they can do some contact tracing, but if they can't figure it out, then how do you blame the person? You can't. Do you think anybody wants to contract this virus?
No, but have you contracted it? No. Have I? No. You know why? Because we isolate ourselves. We know.
I also live in the state with the lowest amount of cases.
It doesn't matter. All you have to do as a professional athlete, everything is at your facility. You don't need to. All your nutrition is there. All your weightlifting is there. All of your practices and your meetings are there. And then you go home. All you need to do is...
You're telling me that you can't be a part of your family for months on end because of your job.
Only in the the certain situations where you may have a significant other or somebody living with you that is at high risk. As long as they are not going anywhere unnecessary, they're only going to places they have to be, then you're fine.
So what if family comes over and they're carrying?
No. You what? You can't go 4 months without seeing family? Really?
I think you're making this way more drastic than it needs to be.
This is how you get through to players. This is how you make them wake up.
I understand what you're trying to do, but it's not going to work because teams. First of all, the NFL works for 31 owners, right? 31 owners are not going to approve forfeiting a game. They're just not. The NFL doesn't have the right to force a team to forfeit a game. They just don't. So there's no way that this gets implemented. However, if you can contact trace a player who was ignorant and selfish and went to a club or a bar or went out to a restaurant or whatever and didn't didn't take care of themselves and put other people at risk, I believe that they should be suspended.
And what if you can't? And what if they get away with it? Then
they got away with it. There's no perfect answer. That there is a what if.
But this isn't baseball where they can make the game up in a couple weeks. We don't have that luxury.
Saying forfeiting is too drastic. It's too much of a risk because you're telling me you're a Patriots fan. If player 53 Cash Maluya contracts the virus, and you're telling me that everybody on the Patriots has to forfeit the game?
Yeah,
because no.
Yes, no. Everybody needs to be held accountable, and I know every single Patriot is going to be doing their job because that is what is ingrained to their head because of their coaching staff. Right,
just an example.
But that's the same mindset every single team needs to have. I don't care if you're on the Jets. Adam Gase needs to be getting through to his players and saying, "Listen, we all need to do what we have to do. If that means you don't get to see certain people, then so be it. You'll have to see them in January or March, whenever." Well, everybody's got to make. We're all making sacrifices. If you're a professional athlete, you may have to make a couple more.
Well, the Jets aren't waiting till March to see anybody. All right, I think that's a good spot to leave that topic. All right, so we did something a little different for you guys this week. It's a little interesting. I want to hear your feedback. I want to see if you guys are interested in this. As this is a show brought to you for fans by fans, we wanted to start incorporating our followers and community into the conversation. One of our fans has been particularly vocal about his team and wanted to address it live on our show. Here is Kyle from New Jersey to discuss the current state of the New York Jets.
All right, Kyle.
What?
I know that you have been struggling as a Jets fan for a long time.
You think?
And you have some frustrations you want to get out like the rest of the Jets community.
You
So,
think?
where do you want to start? You want to what are your
Where do I even begin? I don't even know where to fucking start with this team because I mean, do you start with the coaching? Do you start with the
let's start with Adam Gase.
regression?
Let's start with the biggest problem. We all know it's Adam Gase. All right. So where do the Jets move from here? What happens next? What needs to happen?
He needs to be gone. He needed to be gone. He needed to be gone the second we fucking hired him. I mean, you know, as soon as they announced it, you guys knew that I was skeptical. I was like, all right, well, maybe it'll work out. He was horrible in Miami. He's shown nothing, anywhere that he's an offensive guru.
Right, but can't you put any of this blame on Sam Darnold for just being a lackluster quarterback?
Can you put the blame on Sam Darnold for playing with wide receivers 4, 5, and 6 on the depth chart? You put Patrick Mahomes on the Jets right now. You tell me what he's gonna do. What do you think he would do?
I think he is gonna put up more points than Darnold, but I don't think
Not by much. When he has a garbage offensive line, and you saw what he did yesterday. Like, yeah, he got 2 pick sixes, but you saw that play that a touchdown to Berrios.
Yeah.
Right?
That was like the only thing.
He has the ability. He has so much potential to be a Patrick Mahomes type player because of his elusiveness, getting out of the pocket. 95% of the dropbacks, the pocket collapses because our only good offensive lineman, Becton, who's also hurt now, and we don't know what's going to happen with him. I can almost guarantee you he's probably not going to play Thursday, which I think is in our favor because I want us to lose by 30 because then we have a week and a half to get another coach in there and get rid of that fucking that narcissistic, egotistical asshole that thinks that he is an offensive guru because Peyton Manning said so. Because we're gonna go off of the words of Peyton Manning. Someone, if you want to talk about conspiracy theories, Peyton Manning's never like the Jets. Remember that he foregoed. I forgot which draft it was. I don't know if it was 97 or 98. The Jets were picking number 1. He was like, "Nah, I'm gonna play my senior year," because he didn't want to go to the Jets. Next year, he went to the Colts and had a Hall of Fame career, obviously. So you think Christopher Johnson, being as naive as he is, be like, oh, Peyton Manning, he wants what's best for the Jets. Hire Adam Gase. That'd be a great idea. He's going to really develop Sam Darnold. Then why are you telling me? You're going to tell me that he's going to develop Sam Darnold. Meanwhile, since he's been here, Darnold has done nothing but regress.
I just don't know how you...
There's 2 examples of it. Look at fucking Ryan Tannehill. Look at him. Look at what he's doing now that he is away from Adam Gase.
He's doing better, but can you say...
Now, is he living up to the potential of being, when was he... I know he was a first-round pick, but I think he was a top 10 pick. Right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Right. So, his first 3 years... he was under offensive guru and quarterback whisperer Adam Gase, and he was hot garbage. Then he went to Tennessee, and I wouldn't say he led them to the AFC Championship game, but he did a pretty good part. Oh, and they're 3-0 right now. partially because Tannehill has been playing really well. He's on my bench in fantasy, and he's putting up points.
Listen, let's just talk about the Jets. I still don't believe that.
But it's a salient point because Tannehill got away from Adam Gase, and he's playing like I would say a top 15 quarterback in the league right now. You don't think Sam Darnold, if and when he gets away from Adam Gase, whether it's away from Adam Gase or away from the Jets as a whole, you don't think he's going to flourish? You can't tell me that this kid hasn't had flashes of insane talent.
Yeah, I think that he has potential, but I don't think it all falls on Adam Gase. I think Adam Gase is definitely a huge problem for the Jets. But I think Joe Douglas, as much as you like him, he's a problem because he refuses to pay anybody. And how can you get him weapons, Sam Darnold weapons?
Rebuilding a team. Remember how
rebuilding a team. You loved the offensive lineman he brought in. What's that done for him? It's worse than last year.
I wouldn't say it's worse than last year. You can't get much worse than last year.
How many times Darnold's been sacked over and over and over? He's been rushed out of the pocket countless times.
He was rare. I think he was only sacked once last year. Last week, yesterday, because he is that damn good on his feet. He's insane. Like how he throws on the move. There is the potential with this kid. And the Jets are sabotaging him. I know we said it as a joke 3 years ago when he was another Jets quarterback that's going to be ruined by the organization. We were like, ha, and we couldn't. I was like, they can't possibly do that. This kid has too much potential, and you've seen the potential, but then you have the play calling. Then you have Gase saying, "Oh, he has Darnold on such a short leash." Why? Is it because that he makes some errant throws here and there that you don't want to see in a third-year quarterback? Yeah, I mean, there are throws that he makes that are questionable at the very least. That's putting it lightly. But the play calling is a problem. Give it to Gore, run up the middle. Give it to Balazs. Why not give it to LaMichael Pirine?
Well, I mean, if you go back,
that looked really good. Why aren't you giving him time in garbage time? Because after the first 2 minutes of the first quarter, for the last 3 weeks, every minute the Jets play has been garbage time.
Right, but if you really think about it, this is exactly what Gase wanted. He said it at the beginning of the year. He was like, I like Frank Gore a lot. He looks like he did in 2009. And we all know he hates Le'Veon Bell, with Le'Veon out of the picture.
And that's why he needs to go. That's why he needs to go. That's why he needs to be fired. It's going to if he's not fired by the end of today, that means he is going to be coaching the team and being on the sidelines on Thursday on a nationally televised game against another injury-ravaged team. And you want to know what's going to happen? It's going to take another nationally televised embarrassment by a team that is just as injury-ravaged as we are. It's another nationally televised embarrassment for them to finally get the hint. Well, they got the hint. I think Mortensen reported that, Jets brass is getting the hint. Gase is officially on the hot seat.
I mean, is it Jets brass or Johnson?
It's Jets brass. Like the just executives, and I'm assuming Chris Johnson's one of them. But didn't you see what he tweeted yesterday?
I did not.
Yeah. So here, let me pull it up because it's definitely a thing now. They're taking notice to what the media is saying about him, what the fans are saying. I mean, you look at any Jets post, every single comment in the bottom is fire Gase, hashtag fire Gase.
But do you believe if this Jets team was fully healthy, that they would be doing better, that they may have a win at this point? Do you think they could have beaten the Colts yesterday at full strength? Say CJ Mosley never opted out?
I mean, they would be a much better team if they weren't playing with a practice squad of wide receivers.
I mean, that's fair. I feel like Berrios has been...
Berrios has been good. I like what Berrios has done. I'm not going to lie. But doesn't take away the fact that Mims hasn't played it down. Crowder has been out since week 1. Perryman has been out. There was one other one.
Cager.
Well, Cager just got brought up yesterday, and he looked good. Why weren't we throwing to him more? Ask our fucking dumbass head coach.
What about Herndon?
Herndon, give me one good reason why Gase can't run 2 tight ends out there. Ryan Griffin had a really bad drop yesterday, but Ryan Griffin's a solid tight end. Herndon can be a solid tight end. Why do you keep on using Frank Gore to try to get yourself back into a game?
I mean,
why?
It's Adam Gase's guy. That's it. That's
end
of story.
His guy's gotta fuck off. That's all there is to it. Hang on. Jets coach Adam Gase is under more intense scrutiny this week, and it's not just the external noise from media or fans. League sources say even with injuries, Jets brass monitoring this week closely. Today versus Colts, but perhaps more telling is Thursday night versus Broncos. Interesting one.
Well, what do you think needs to happen on Thursday in order for Gase to get fired?
Anything that's happened the last 3 weeks.
So not just a loss, but like a devastating loss. Like, yeah. Isn't it big enough just to lose to a backup quarterback that's out of they don't have their wide receiver 1, their cornerback 1. They're missing a bunch of weapons as well. Von Miller's out.
About the Niners or the Broncos?
I'm talking about the Broncos. The Broncos are down.
The Niners were the same thing.
No, yeah,
the
Niners are in the same shape as the Broncos.
But then again, Nick Mullins shit on the Giants too. I think he put up like 350 yards.
Yeah, I mean yards don't really matter, points do, but.
Well, they put up 36 points.
Yeah, well, we're talking about the Giants, not, an elite team. So. I just think the Broncos, who are looked at as a mediocre team, especially now with all the injuries they've had, if they go out and outscore the Jets by 14 points, which I think is reasonable, is that enough?
I wonder what the spread is. I wonder if the spreads are even out.
But if it's a 1 touchdown game, is that if say it's a 21-7 game or 21-14 game, Broncos win? Is that enough for the brass to go ahead and say it's time to call it?
I think it depends on how the play calling goes and how the game goes as a whole. You look at the final score of week 1. We lost to the Bills by 10 points. Was it really that close of a game?
Right, but how much are Jets fans going to keep thinking, oh, he gives us one decent game where it's close to until the end, but we still lose. But so we should give him more time. How many times are they going to continue to just?
You go find me a Jets fan that thinks that that Gase still wants this.
No, I hear it from you. You think that he has a couple good play calls, and you're like, well, maybe there's something there. You're not.
When was the last time I said that?
Last season, the back half of last season, when the Jets were winning some games. You thought that Adam Gase might be able to do something.
I didn't say Adam Gase might be able to do something. I said the team itself might be able to do something. Darnold looked really good down the stretch. Did I think watching those games that week 3 of this year he would throw 3 interceptions, 2 of them being returned for touchdowns? No, I didn't think that. Now, given all of that, this kid doesn't have an offensive line. He doesn't have receivers that can get open. Now, was it the best idea to keep on throwing in the way of Xavier Rhodes? Probably not. But how much you want to bet that Gase has him on such a short leash that he's just saying, oh, this is the play, you drop back and you throw it to him no matter what? I don't know who. I think it was probably Berrios that he was trying to throw to.
Okay, well,
Gase has neutered Sam Darnold to the point where he has no freedom to call an audible, no freedom to do anything, because let's listen to the offensive genius, and then he acts so takes no blame on himself, puts blame on his players, which, yes, I know this is exactly what he did in Miami, and how he just completely lost the locker room. Well, guess what? That's where he is now. I guarantee you they're going to go out there next week. I mean, you heard Avery Williamson and McDougal go on FAN and say, yeah, we're not practicing hard enough. Yeah, I mean, I don't like what they're doing. The only one that's saying good things about the coach is Darnold. And I don't get why. I don't get that. I don't know what
he's scared to speak out, and I don't blame him. He's still a young quarterback. He's only 3 years into this league. I wouldn't expect him to speak out. He doesn't really know anything else besides Adam Gase.
And that's why I'm saying if he does get traded somewhere and we do end up with Lawrence, I mean,
well, that's my next question. I just wanted to know quickly. It looks like the Jets are going to be the worst team and have the first overall pick. Do you think
we're contending with like the Giants and
but you got to realize that the Jets are the AFC East has the hardest schedule this season. So it's not going to get any easier. It's probably just going to get worse. Mm-hmm. So the Jets are going to struggle the remainder of the season. Injuries are going to occur even more. If you get Lawrence or Fields, or have the opportunity to get Lawrence or Fields with the 1 or 2 pick, do you move on from Darnold? I know it's a tough question, but 3 years of seeing what Sam Darnold has done and taken the team nowhere, not even shown a glimmer of hope. And I know you want to think there's something there, but I truly don't think there's anything there.
Sam Darnold himself has shown glimmers of hope.
I just don't think how can you pass up on generational talent? How can you pass up on generational talent like Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence?
Yes, that's the caveat. Do you do that?
Because you could in my opinion, in my opinion, you move on from Darnold, you could probably still get a second, maybe first round pick for him, because he's still a young quarterback with a lot of upside. So I think you can get something there, and then you can go and get him some weapon, get Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, a receiver or an O lineman or something. You still have Le'Veon Bell there for a couple more years. So I think that there are pieces. I think you also need Joe Douglas to loosen the purse strings and not be afraid to spend some money.
There's reasons why he didn't spend money on certain players. I mean, he's trying to build a team. And we're building it a different way. You saw how McCagnon tried to build his team by blowing $100 million, getting C.J. Mosley, overpaying for a guy like Trumaine Johnson. I wouldn't say overpaying for Bell because that dude can still play. I know he can still play. He's just not allowed to. Yes, I know he's injured, but man, so I wouldn't want another quarterback unless, obviously, the number one thing being that Gase is gone, which, like I said, I think may very well happen by Friday.
All right. So last 3 things before we close this out. I want to hear your top 3 moves the Jets need to make in order to be successful within the next 5 years.
Well, I mean, get a coach.
Right. Obviously, move on from Gase and get a coach.
That's the number one thing. You go out and get someone like Bieniemy.
Right.
Or get someone from the NCAA, someone like Lincoln Riley away. Mm-hmm. Like do what the Cardinals did and get Cliff Kingsbury, and that's worked out pretty damn well if you ask me.
Okay.
Get someone from there. Get someone who is not proven to be garbage like Gase was when we brought him in. He showed no signs. He showed no promise.
Okay.
Take a chance on someone that has a better record.
Okay, so get number 1, move on from Gase, get a new quarterback, get a new head coach. What's number 2?
I mean, personally, you need to give Darnold a chance.
Okay.
These last few years, he hasn't had weapons. He hasn't had the tools to succeed, no matter which way you look at it. Because now we got some tools from him. Becton is going to protect the quarterback's blind side for a very long time. He has looked fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. That whole play yesterday where he was scrambling around for the touchdown, Becton did so. If you looked at Becton and what he was doing, the whole entire offensive line was collapsing. Becton was the only one holding his ground. He got his guy. He held him. He did his job. He looks like he's fantastic.
Okay, so
Le'Veon Bell is a weapon. I mean, you need to use him as a weapon. He is such a versatile weapon.
Right, and
on week 1, he made some really good catches. He was being used as a fucking receiver.
Yeah, and all those things are going to come. All those players are going to be utilized better with a new head coach. I understand that. So with that said, we're going to move on from Gase, get a new head coach. We're going to give Darnold more opportunities to prove himself to be the franchise of the Jets. What's the last thing the Jets need to do in order to be successful in the near future? Or to at least be trending in the right direction?
I mean, those are really the two things. Get a better. I think management.
You believe in Joe Douglas? You
Yes.
serious?
Yes, I do.
What about a corner, a position that you guys have been struggling since Revis has been there?
Right.
So you don't want to fill, like, obviously you have C.J. Mosley and Avery Williamson. You still have Quinnen Williams.
There are a lot of holes we gotta fill. There's a lot of holes we gotta fill.
What would you rather have, a number 1 corner or number 1 receiver?
For our quarterback's sake, number 1 wide receiver.
Okay. So we're gonna get rid of Gase, give Darnold a shot, and do that by giving him a wide receiver 1.
But that's the thing. Do you give Darnold one last shot with a new coach?
I mean, he still has 2 years on his contract.
Right.
So.
Right. And if you now say hypothetically we do get that first overall pick, you can trade back and get an absolute haul. You can get Darnold that, you draft back to say 3 or 4, and Jamar Chase is still there, and you get like an extra second round pick or whatever, or another, or a really good offensive lineman or something like that, or a good corner, whatever. Joe Douglas has shown that he knows what he's doing with the draft. Becton, so far, is the highest rated offensive rookie. And he was drafted. When did we draft?
I believe he's drafted 11th.
10th or 11th. Right?
Yeah.
So he got him. He did what he did, trading back twice and still getting the receiver that he wanted in Mims at, I think, 51 or 52.
Yeah, he's made good moves. I don't see the value if you're not going to spend the cap you have to make your team successful.
Well, originally that a big cap of part of that cap was supposed to go to Jamal, and he had a bitch fit and gave us no other choice but to trade him.
In which you accepted a second round pick.
It's more than the second.
Oh, you got a first round pick, right?
Yeah. Now, given it was from Seattle and it's going to be
a late rounder
pick, but I think he knows what he's doing. I really do. It's just gonna take time because McCagnon put us in such a deep hole. He burned a lot of money on players, a lot, and we're restarting the rebuild again.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the truth.
It's just one of those things, and it's something that the Jets are going to have to deal with for the rest of the season. No matter what happens with Gase or what happens with Darnold, you're still going to have to deal with the schedule ahead of you and the injuries that you have. no matter what, this season is pretty much lost for the Jets, and you have to accept that. Look forward to the future and see what you can get in the draft next year. You have a lot of draft capital. Trevor Lawrence could be, within reach for you guys. So I think there's a lot of hope to be had moving forward. So Jets fans need to realize that this isn't going to be forever. And I know we keep saying that, but it's eventually going to come to an end, and the end seems to be close. All right.
I wouldn't say the end is close, man.
I would say if the brass is making the right moves, like they want to, like they say they're going to make, then this should be not a quick turnaround, but a good turnaround.
If we get the right coach.
I mean, listen, doesn't matter who you get, you're going to be better than Gase. It simple as that.
Yeah, I think Greg Williams will be a much higher upgrade.
All right, Kyle. Thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us. We'll have to come back to this later on when Gase gets fired and see who the next head coach is of the New York Jets.
Thank you all for tuning in. This was a great conversation from the NBA, the UFC, and the NFL. Thank you to Kyle for coming in, talking about the New York Jets. Him and Nick had a great conversation. It was fun to listen to. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Much appreciated. We want to get as many fans in here to talk about their fan bases, to talk about their fandom, talk about the issues that they see with their teams in any sport, so we can move forward doing this. We love having you guys. We love talking to you. We say it every week. With that being said, I hope you all have a great week. Stay healthy, stay safe, take care of each other, take care of yourself. Peace and love, baby.